Hey everyone, he traversed mushroom kingdoms, surfed on galaxies, and even gone full cat mode. Mario's Adventures catalog is massive, but with decades of games to choose from, which stands above the rest? So, what we did was we combed through all the Reddit polls, Discord discussions, and YouTube comments to bring you the top 10 Super Mario games ranked by you. Ready for a deep dive into what makes each title great, where they stumble, and what tweaks could have made them even higher? Let's ask Mario himself. You ready?
Here we go! Yahoo!
Number 10, New Super Mario Bros. U. So, at number 10 sits New Super Mario Bros. U, originally on the Wii U, later ported to the Switch as Deluxe. Visually, it was a step up for the 2D Mario world, HD graphics, crisp animations, and a vibrant color palette. What was nice about it was the familiar mechanics, the ground pounds, the wall jumps, and the spin jumps. It felt buttery smooth with a new engine, and the level design often struck that sweet spot of challenge without being too frustrating. So, what people noticed, the strengths were, was that this is one of the sharpest 2D Mario games ever, with detailed backgrounds and really good particle effects. The audio design and the music arrangements paid homage to the classic NES tunes, but had a higher fidelity, which a lot of people enjoyed. The co-op chaos. You can have 4 players tackling the levels together, and the boost mode, where one player is using the gamepad to drop blocks, could be hilarious, helpful, or they can be a total troll. And made for a lot of family and friends fun sessions. What was also nice was that it had assist features like super guide flags that would drop a computer-controlled Mario if you repeatedly failed, which is great for newcomers. But there were weaknesses. So aside from the boost mode, the game was played fairly safe by a lot of people. A lot of fans pointed out that it recycled too many enemy types and power-ups. So it kind of felt underwhelming in some areas and wasn't as groundbreaking as people would have thought. And also, some world stages like level 5 and level 6 spiked in difficulty abruptly, which can be jarring if you're expecting the steady curve of the older Mario games. Now, what would have made the game bump up high on this list instead of being number 10? So some suggestions would have been introducing a wholly new power-up, similar to how Super Mario 3 introduced the raccoon suit, would have gave it a unique identity. And also streamlining that difficulty curve. Remember what I said, World 5 and 6 had that spike in difficulty. Maybe shuffling those brutal layer stages into an optional challenge path would have been a lot more accessible for a lot of fans, pushing this up higher in the rank. So, let's move over to number 9. Super Mario Sunshine. So, this one lands at number 9, and this one's very different. Mario's Sun-Baked Romp on the GameCube is what introduces all this. Immediately you know the shift. Flood, Mario's water pack, redefines traversal. Now you can jet across the gap, spraying goop off of platforms, and even dousing fire enemies. It felt fresh back in 2002. The strengths of this game were a lot. Flood opened up a whole lot of new interactions. You can use the hover nozzle for gliding, the rocket nozzle for vertical boost, and the turbo nozzle for rocket power sprints. And it gave this game a identity that was very distinct from any other Mario game that was before it. And also, the tropical art direction, the courtyards, sunsets, the palm trees, it still pops even to this day. And the soundtrack has that laid-back island feel to it. And the levels themselves are also really cool. From the breezy Bianco Hills to the frenetic Bowser's Boogie, each world had its own personality. Now, the weaknesses, however, was the camera control. The camera could be unwieldy in tight corners, and also the level difficulties like Tall Tall Mountain was effectively really imbalanced, just like Pachinko Machine like we see over here. Some of the platform segments felt too slippery when they needed to be precise, and a lot of the tasks were repetitious. As always with a lot of Mario games, collecting 9 coins or chasing coins to unlock the Shine Sprite would feel a bit tedious, especially when the time limits were very tight. Now, what could have made this game better? Number 1, the tighter camera controls, maybe semi-auto tracking in the narrow corridors, would have kept a lot of frustration at bay, and let Flood's novelty shine. The balanced difficulty curve, reducing or reshuffling the hardest levels like it did before with the previous game, could have made this difficulty curve smooth out a lot better. And then more narration, so often the story beats, for example Bowser Jr. painting shadows or the robot fights in Pinna Park, felt a bit disjointed. Tying them together with a bit more of a story would have made the game feel a lot better. So, with that, let's move over to number 8. Number 8 goes to Super Mario 3D World, originally on the Wii U, now on the Switch with Bowser's Fury added in. The game's tagline could have been multiplayer mayhem in 3D. So, here's what the fans love. Each world had its own gimmick. The reflective corridors of the Glass Block Galaxy or the top-down P-Block levels. These levels kept players guessing and encouraged replayability, which is always a good thing. The cat suit also had a really cool ability to scale walls and perform wall jumps, bringing back the fond memories of the Super Mario 3D Land, and new power-ups like the Double Cherry, effectively cloning Mario, led to inventive, puzzle-centric stages. There was a lot of multiplayer dynamics as well. 4 players on one screen meant cooperation, stomping on friends, accidentally getting their power-ups, all that created a whole lot of fun. In addition, you had Bowser's Fury. So those open-world Fury Islands had the dynamic day and life cycle to it, which is really cool, and also collaboration with Bowser Jr. So it felt like a lot of innovation in such a small package. Now, the weaknesses of this was that the game was fairly linear. A lot of fans noted that compared to Super Mario Odyssey, or older 3D Mario games, each world felt really linear. Exit A must be collected to unlock B, and so on. There was no way for any vertical exploration. And with 4 players crowding one viewport, it was very easy to lose where your character was, which always caused an issue. Even in solo mode, like we see here, the camera sometimes struggled to keep pace with what's happening because the game was so frantic. And most of the levels are quite easy, which is fine for experienced 3D platformers, but there were some higher level difficulties that were hidden in specific championship worlds. So some of them felt like the difficulty level was a bit too easy for a lot of people, so there was a bit of a mismatch there. Now, what could have bumped it up higher? More open arenas incorporating that semi-open stages like Odyssey's Kingdoms, multiple exits and hidden collectibles before a strict linear path happened, could have made exploration feel a lot better. Also, another one would be an enhanced solo experience. Adding optional time trials or challenge modes with global leaderboards would have gave speedrunners something more to do. And also, a better one would have been the camera improvement. So if you had a dynamic split-screen camera where the players were spread far apart, rather than forcing everyone into a small cramped view, that would improve visibility and enjoyment. So, that's number 8. And now, we'll go over to number 7, which is Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES. Arguably the birthplace of so many Mario staples that we see today. You had the world map here, varied suits, creative minigames, and unforgettable themes like the one you're listening to right now. The strengths were, you had the Tanuki suit, which gave you the ability to hover and attack, and the Raccoon suit, which gave you flight. And that gave Mario an unprecedented sense of freedom. It wasn't just new mechanics, however, it also revolutionized how you approached each level. The NES could be unforgiving at times as well. The world map and the non-linear progression, unlike the previous entry, meant you can choose different routes, decide which fortress and Toad House to challenge, or even play minigames to earn extra lives and power-ups, and the level design was very varied. So you have the Waterland underwater challenges, to the Skyland's aerial bunny hopping vines. Each world felt distinct and felt unique, and the difficulty curve was almost flawlessly tuned. It was gradual, but it was rewarding at the same time. And nearly every modern 2D Mario game draws inspiration from this game right here and its level design philosophy. The music too was also quite catchy, and it still gets stuck in your head even to this day. Now, the weaknesses are, one of them that's going to be apparent is the visuals. By today's standards, the 8-bit sprites feel a bit blocky and a bit too simplistic for people who grew up on the HD or the 3D Mario titles, but back in the day, this was all the rage. Also, you couldn't save mid-world. If you turned off the console, you lost progress from the last checkpoint. So that would have been a lot of frustration for players nowadays who can just save as many times as you want. And also, the minigames were quite repetitive, and the world map layout, it kind of felt like it was tacked on a bit for some people. So that's also what a lot of people complained about. Now, how could this have gone higher up on the list? You could have had expanded save options like a simple password system for mid-world progress. Something like Mega Man's password system. That could have been reducing frustration. Another one is additional world theme and enemies. So introduce a couple more archetypes for the enemies or some sub-themed tile sets for later game worlds that could have prevented visual repetition. And the last one, varied boss mechanics. Now, Bowser's Fortress and his Fortress bosses are pretty much all similar in structure, so something a bit more unique would have been a lot better. But that's fine, because now we're going to go to number 6, which is
Yahoo!
number 6 with Super Mario Galaxy 2. Now, this one built on the original gravity playground of Super Mario Galaxy, and it refined every element and introduced new stars in order for you to chase. The strengths were that it had a tighter level design. Unlike the first one with the more open hubs, Galaxy 2 levels demanded precision. Each segment is honed to deliver a specific challenge you had to face, whether you're bouncing on beetles or collecting the red star coins hidden off on the beaten path. And Yoshi returns! Having Yoshi back inside a 3D Mario world adds new platforming challenges and tricks, such as tracking items with his tongue, doing the flutter jumps, and also stomping. It changed the way you approach a lot of the puzzles in the game. Another one was the power-up variety. Cloud Mario transformed Mario into a block, letting him create temporary platforms, opening up creative puzzle possibilities. Also, another strength was the speed and the momentum. With a more aggressive pace than its predecessor, Galaxy 2 rewarded quick reflexes and memorization, making it ideal for speedrunners. Now, the weaknesses is that there's less story and less narrative. The first Galaxy had the subplot with Rosalina, and the Observatory Hub gave it an emotional through line throughout the game. Galaxy 2's story is more minimal. Collect stars, defeat Bowser Jr., that's it. And it made the game feel less magical as a sequel. Also, by removing the large hub universe, Galaxy 2 represented a series of missions, then a connected galaxy as a whole. I'm not a gripe, but for those who love the first game, that was a sore miss. But there's also the other weakness of being the difficulty curve. So the jump from the early to mid game starts to the final boss galaxies can be really abrupt, like the other games you saw lower down on the list. So the casual fans found the transition a bit jarring. Now, what could have made this game go up higher? Put back the modified hub. So if you had a simple observatory or a hub planet, it gave you just enough to give you a sense of progression of the game and where you're going, right? Could have preserved the storybook feel without it feeling like it was dragging on. Expand the narratory elements as well. Maybe give some brief cutscenes featuring Rosalina's guidance, or some of Bowser Jr.'s antics would have made the game feel a bit more emotional, had some stake to it, you know what I'm saying? And another one would have been a cosmic assist, so slightly wider platforms, more generous checkpoints. That would help casual players breeze through the game without feeling they were being too challenged. And so, let's move over to number 5, which is with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now this is Nintendo's bold return back to the 2D Mario realm on the Nintendo Switch. And immediately, the Wonder Flowers upend everything. Levels can suddenly morph from underwater to lava fields and shift gravity while you're mid-jump, causing a whole lot of confusion and sometimes makes the gameplay much more exciting. And that's one of its strengths. No two runs feel the same. 1 second you're dodging Goombas on a grassy plain, the next time everything is pixelated, enemies break into dance, and the physics completely change. The element of surprise is that its biggest selling point. The art direction was also something interesting as well. The character animations were hand-drawn, it had playful backgrounds, and color palettes made every area pop, which is really cool. The UI itself feels a lot livelier, with subtle flourishes like the jumping A buttons that bounce. It also had new power abilities. So for example, you had Elephant Mario, or Elephant Luigi in this case, the Bubble Flower, and the Dash Flower. All of them add variety. Elephant Mario's Trunk Slam can uncover the hidden blocks, while the Bubble Mario power-up floats through the sections, which is really cool. And you also have multiplayer, so you have up to 4 players with a proper rollback netcode online, unlike previous Mario platformers, some of them on this list, so the lag is effectively minimal. Plus, curious Yoshis let you share abilities, such as pinging a player's bullet bill or the fireball to solve the puzzles in a cooperative way. Now, here comes the weakness. That would be, some of the fans wonder if Wonder, no pun intended, feels shorter than previous 2D entries. Collecting the Wonder Seeds, which is the main objective, is fun, but after 50 to 60 seeds, the novelty can wear off. And unlike the other games I mentioned, this one is a lot on the easier side. The harder challenge runs or the optional ultra hard levels might have boosted competitive replayability, but that wasn't necessarily there. And there was very limited secrets. So compared to Super Mario World or Super Mario Galaxy, Wonder has very few secret areas. So not going to give it that much there. Now, what could have made this game go higher on the list? Post-game content, maybe adding a reverse mode, flip levels, or ultra challenge for speedrunners. You also have the more branching paths, so giving it secret exits that could have unlocked brand new worlds and an increased difficulty level. But that's all for this one. Let's move over to number 4, which is
Yahoo!
Super Mario World for the SNES. So this was introduced alongside the console, and this one added everyone's favorite sidekick, Yoshi, as well as an expansive overworld full of secrets. The strength, well, the perfected 2D controls was a major one. Mario's acceleration, deceleration, and the jump arcs feel intuitive. The cape power-up also made flying one of the most exhilarating mechanics in platforming history. And the music. Listen to this and you get nostalgic feels anyway, even if this is the first time you actually played it or seen it. And you also had secret exit and branching maps, so you can complete levels with secret exits which unlocked new pathways, such as in the Star World or the Special World, creating a web of additional content that rewards exploration. Yoshi's dynamics was also really cool here as well. He had the tongue grab, the flutter jump, and the character variations. Blue Yoshi flies with the wings, Yellow Yoshi bounces on the clouds, etc. And that added a layer of fun and depth that other games would build on. Also was the level design and the variety. You had ghost houses, donut plains, every single world felt unique. You had hidden Yoshi eggs as well in the 5 coin challenges, which kept you hunting long after the main path was clear. So, what are the weaknesses of this amazing game? The camera zoom and the scrolling. In the underground levels and a tightly packed maze, the level can feel a bit zoomed out, making the pixel-perfect jumps a lot harder to do. The overworld theme and some of the level tracks repeated a lot. Even after extended play, it sounded a little bit like auditory fatigue for a lot of players. The relative challenge for a modern audience, well, while it's balanced for its era, modern players are used to swift movement to find the right pace, so they'll find this game slightly slower or expect more variance on the enemies. Now, we're going to bump this one high up the ranking. If the camera was refined a bit better, if it had a dynamic zoom that focused on Mario when jumping or falling, it could have eased the precision platforming in narrow corridors. Also, post-game worlds, so a Neo Star Road with remixed levels, such as in Super Mario Maker's reinterpretation, would have extended the replay value. And remixed options for the soundtrack or an expanded soundtrack, so people didn't have to hear the same thing over and over again. So, let's move over to number 3, which is...
Here we go!
Number 3, Super Mario 64. Do I need to clarify? I will anyway. The bronze medal goes to Super Mario 64, the game that took Mario and gaming itself into the third dimension. This was the first true sandbox platformer, and it set the template for every single 3D Mario game that followed. Why is it legendary? Well, let's start with it. First of all, it was revolutionary in the fact that it was 3D. The analog stick-driven movement, with the first player camera view, the toggle, the triple jump, the backflip, all the aerobatics that you could do with Mario, it felt intuitive at the time. Even decades later, it still plays pretty well. You also had an open hub and a non-linear progression. Peach's castle as the hub was very impactful. You picked a painting, jumped into a level, like Dari Dari Docks over here, gathered the stars, and came back. The freedom to tackle missions in any order was brand new at the time. And the missions were very memorable. Climbing the clock tower, grabbing 100 coins on tiny huge islands, riding the slide, racing the penguin, that was awesome. Each mission had an adventure in itself. And also the camera was innovative at the time as well. Even though it had its quirks, the first attempt at a fully 3D camera with a C button to rotate laid the groundwork for future improvements to other titles. What was the weaknesses, however? In tight spaces, something like here, like the lethal lava land elevator, or when Mario was near a wall, the camera could clip and get stuck, leading to cheap depths, which didn't help that much. The graphic and the frame rates also was a bit of an issue. The low polygon count for Mario in this case, and the inconsistent frame rates, especially on the busy levels, show their age when you compare it to a modern standard like, for example, Mario Wonder. And also, there was the mission repetition. Several collect only 8 red coins style became very formulaic. Once you mastered those challenges, it could feel a bit rote. Now, what could have made this go even higher up instead of 3rd place? If you refined the camera controls and had a lock-on target, a context-sensitive autocorrection for the camera, that would reduce frustration in notorious areas, like the penguin slide in Cool Cool Mountain like I said before. Also a variety in mission objectives, so swapping some of the red-blue coin hunts for a unique mini-quests, escort missions, time chase segments, etc. could have broke up the repetition. And also, having a more stable frame rate, even on the original hardware, would have improved the fluidity, making the platforming feel even tighter. But one of the best things about this game is the soundtrack, especially this level right here. But we gotta go, so let's move over to number 2, which is Super Mario Galaxy. Taking silver is Super Mario Galaxy, the cosmic odyssey that redefined platforming with its gravity-defying planetoids and the orchestral soundscape, like you can hear over here. The strengths were that you can walk upside down on the small planetoids, jumping in between them, giving that fundamental shift each stage had, and also giving it a new perspective. The moment you realized you can run around on a tiny moon was unforgettable and pretty freaking cool. Also, you had the backstory for Rosalina, told through the collectible story panels, and the lullaby theme gave Galaxy a surprising emotional depth. You felt like you were saving the stars themselves. Also, the full orchestral score played in harmony with the level themes, so the sweeping strings while gliding across space still gives chills even when you listen to it now. And also there was the variety in level design. One level, you're flying with the flying squirrel, the next you're dodging the asteroid fields. The pacing is impeccable. Each world feels unique, but there were weaknesses of this game that I'll have to cover. The motion control in the camera. The Wii's pointer was used to collect the star bits and stun enemies, and shaking the remote to perform spin moves could feel imprecise. The camera angles occasionally hit objects behind unseen cliffs, which didn't help very well, especially when trying to do a completionist run. There was also the interaction with the hub. It wasn't that much. Rosalina's observatory is beautiful, but it's mostly a narrative device. You couldn't really revisit past galaxies or replay missions without navigating the menu. And there's also the high-risk platforming sections. It has sparse checkpoints, leading to repeated restarts that could dampen your experience. Now, how could this go even higher? If you refine the control schemes, so you remap the spin moves to a button instead of a shaking aspect, or improve the pointer sensitivity toggle. You can also allow the players to hang out at the observatory, replaying galaxies in any order, or accessing hidden bonus challenges from within the observatory might have deepened the engagement in the game. And the last one, give me more checkpoints. Who doesn't want any more checkpoints? I know I would. So, let's move over to the last one, number 1, which is Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch, a game that encapsulates everything we love about Mario. It has exploration, innovation, heart, charm, and listen to that soundtrack. So the strength of this game was that it had the ability to toss Cappy, Mario's hat, into Goombas, T-Rexes, Bullet Bills, and even Cheep Cheeps, then control them. This one mechanic unlocked a whole lot of puzzle solutions and movement options. Want to ride a train in the Metro Kingdom or shoot fire with the dry bones? Odyssey lets you go ahead and do that, which is awesome. It also had open-ended kingdoms. Each area, be the whimsical Luncheon Kingdom or the gritty New Donk City, like we're in right now, serves as a mini sandbox. You can go straight for the Power Moon or wander off and discover hidden secrets, painting puzzles, multi-stage parkour challenges, or Moombas that react to Moonlight. Pretty cool. It also had memorable NPC interactions and side quests, from finding things like the wedding vases for Pauline to racing an arena champion in the Sand Kingdom. The optional tasks are charming, they're varied, and they never feel like it's just padding in the game, which no game really wants. Also, each kingdom has its own art style and soundtrack. The jazzy horn section in Metro, the bubbly saints in the Lake Kingdom, The Spirited Brass in New Donk City. Each track immerses you instantly when you're in the game and in the level. And there's a whole lot of replayability and a lot of post-game content. After defeating Bowser, the Dark Side and the Darker Side stages, ramp up challenge and creativity, plus collectathons push you to grab every moon that's in the game. Now, weaknesses would be the inconsistency in the difficulty. Most of the kingdoms are accommodating. Some of the sections like Kingdom of the Moon gravity puzzles or the Deep Heat Galaxies time platforming can feel a little bit tough. The lack of mid-mission checkpoints also in some areas is a bit of a rare gripe, even for this level of the game, and also for this ranking. The motion control confusion was another one. Early in the game, the motion controls for Cappy was simply waggling the stick. It's not explained very clearly though. Some players accidentally jettison Cappy rather than doing a standard throw. And there's limited multiplayer options. While there is co-op that allows you to control Cappy, there's minimal incentive to do so. There's no separate counts or unique challenges, so this feels like it's a bit of a missed opportunity here. Now, what would have made it go even higher? How could it go higher when it's number 1? Well, if you expanded the co-op roles, giving player 2 their own objectives, that would encourage teamwork and increase replayability among friends. Also balancing the late game checkpoints, adding 1 or 2 extra midpoints in the toughest game areas, like the Darker Side's Final Gauntlet, would produce and preserve flow of the game and reduce frustration without undermining the challenge itself. The last one, additional world theming. Some fans, checking the forums and the threads, cite that a winter or jungle kingdom would have broadened the environmental variety even further. And so, that wraps up our in-depth breakdown of their top 10 Super Mario games. Which of these picks resonate with you the most? Did the placement feel right to you, or would you reorder them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get that debate started. And while I'm here, let me just say thank you so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. If you like the video, that tells YouTube that you want this type of video to be shared far and wide so more people can watch the type of content that I'm making. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so every time I do more gaming analysis, like this for example, you'll never miss it. And if you're hungry for more Nintendo nostalgia, check out our other video where we looked at The Legend of Zelda, and we ranked all those games and which one was the best. So, until next time, keep jumping, keep exploring, and keep gaming. Mario, do you have anything to say?
Let's go.
He's Mario, I'm Blitz, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya!
Here we go.